We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sponsored Content. I am your host. Today we kick off Spawn Storytime Season 2 with Spawn issue number 21. We can see it here in all of its glory. Really crisp, clean, beautiful white background here on the cover. Before we get into that, let's real quickly recap the end of Season 1. The end of Season 1, of course, brought us the Spawn Batman crossover that we all love to hate. Here we see the disrespect, the absolute disrespect showcase in the form of a Batarang right in Spawn's face. Real cheap shot from dickhead Bruce Wayne. This is the thanks that Spawn gets for sort of helping Batman save the world. This is how the season ends. So we'll jump right into looking at issue number 21 here. Issue 21 was released on May 1st, 1994. Depicting artwork on the cover from Todd McFarlane. We see Spawn, really crisp and clean here. Really nice white background. Spawn sort of in a picturesque, sort of framed out fashion, showing off that powerless, really naked right hand. Nothing brewing up here yet, but probably soon. Let's jump right into issue number 21. Issue 21 kicks off with yet another full moon, and we see here that Bobby, Spawn's homie, Bobby from the alleyways, he is kind of doctoring Spawn up a bit. Spawn's kind of complaining. Bobby says, settle down, you're acting like a baby. You would think I was murdering you or something. He calls Spawn a wimp. Bobby continues on. Spawn's like, look, I'm not really complaining, but you said you had some medical experience, so I thought, maybe it wasn't just the barbaric kind. And Bobby's like, Jesus, give me a break. I'm really trying to help you out. You should consider yourself lucky that I'm not drunk, because this would probably be going a lot differently if I were. Spawn says, yeah, I guess I'm happy, that you're not wasted. And Bobby says, there, I just about got it. And I forgot to ask you, how did you get this nasty-ass gash anyway? And Spawn says, I ran into some bozo in black. We see the footnote here to see issues 19 and 20, which to this point in release order have not come out yet. But we see this epic ass shot of Spawn. He has been Al Simmons for 20 issues. He has been Baked Potato Face. He is now trading in that name. He is upgrading. We now have our first appearance of the Shoelace Face Spawn in all of his particular glory. His face has now become less baked potato and more like zombified and almost moonish. Plus he has this just giant ass gash in his face that Bobby has like stitched up with his dirty old shoelace. So, Spawn, he doesn't really want to use his power a lot if he doesn't have to. Like, that much we know, but we've seen him several times sort of patch up himself, these giant-ass holes in his body and other such things. So there's probably, more to this story insofar as why he's, refusing to patch himself up with his power here. Probably wouldn't take a whole lot of power. Maybe he doesn't have a whole lot of power to expend. I don't know. We haven't seen the power gauge in quite a while now. We've been seeing Spawn use a shit ton of power sort of all over the place, but I don't really know where he's at. Maybe that's one of the reasons, but I'm just kind of sitting here letting everybody bask in this awesome shot of Shoelace Face, because this will continue on for quite some time now. Just looking really awesome. Now that Bobby is finished, he gets a good look at Spawn. Spawn asks him how he looks. Bobby says, I love it. Although, to be honest, I don't think most people will be able to tell the difference. Bobby kind of liked Spawn with his hamburger head, and he doesn't necessarily know why Spawn needs to, sort of play into this vanity. But Spawn's like, thanks for making me feel better. And Bobby says, you know what? The best part actually was I didn't even have to use my own shoelace. I went and stole a shoelace from one of those dorks over on 52nd, so that's even better. Spawn says, what actually could be a little bit better is just my whole ass life. And Bobby's like, yeah, it probably could. Spawn just kind of complains that nothing's really working out for him. He's sort of got everyone on his ass, demons, angels, hell, there's magical people after him, just everything. Bobby's like, how do you feel? And Spawn's like, dude, I'm really drained. Seriously, I need to contact HR and apply for some mental health days or maybe some FMLA. He says, basically, I just wanted my wife, is that crazy? I just love my wife so very much and I just want to, hang out with her again. Bobby says, dude, that makes so much sense. You don't even know. I used to be married, actually. I had a wife. I was married for 20 years. She kind of suffered through some brain cancer. It was awful. He says, it ate away at her. And by the end, she didn't even know, who I was, and she couldn't even function. Bobby goes on to say, even with all the doctors around, this woman was an absolute saint and they couldn't do anything. They couldn't ease her suffering. They asked me to sign papers, basically end of life papers, DNR, basically pull the plug on her. He says, basically that fucked me up, dude. I wasn't man enough to pick up the pieces of my life and move forward. I wallowed in my self-pity and I lost it all. Spawn says, "I'm sorry, Bobby." And Bobby says, "Look, I just don't want the same thing to happen to you. We kind of like you. We like having you around. You're pretty cool and badass. I'm not trying to like be here all blubbering like a 2-year-old, but I'm just saying like you're pretty okay. And don't lose sight of what you have." Spawn's like, "What do I even have?" And Bobby's like, "You have us, you asshole. Like, I just stitched your face up." And Spawn's like, "Oh yeah." And then Bobby's like, "Also, we feel pretty ballsy with you around. So like we're a little cocky here, and that's something that we haven't maybe been enjoying." So he's just kind of having a really like nice heart-to-heart here with Spawn and giving him some like confidence and reassurance at a time that Spawn is really needing it, especially when he looks even worse than he did before now. Bobby continues on saying that basically if Spawn isn't able to do this, then he's not really any better than them, and that they need him to be better than they are. Spawn says, "Thanks, Bobby. I'm going to put my mask back on so people can't see my new face, and I'm going to try to take control of my life." Bobby's like, "Damn, dude, my friend is just super cool." At the bottom of this page, we see like a really pissed off and rabid Jason Wynn. He's screaming like, "What?" He doesn't understand, apparently. His lackeys here are explaining to him that while he was disappeared into the Orbital Angel Station to be cooked into an anti-spawn, that everyone else in the agency concluded that Terry Fitzgerald should no longer be considered a suspect behind the security breach. So if you recall in issue 6, when Spawn got his Call of Duty arsenal to fight Overkill, they started to think that Terry was involved with that because Terry had access to this same location. And for several issues thereafter, Jason Wynn had sent his goons out to harass Terry and to make threats to Terry against him and his family. Jason Wynn, covert director of the CIA, he runs his office with near impunity. Basically, he doesn't really believe this report. His agents are like, based on this, we should probably like target other suspects, pull some dudes off of this. Like Jason Wynn is like, no, he thinks he's trapped. He was disappeared for 2 days. He gave some BS excuse to the president. President really didn't like that. Jason Wynn thinks that pulling men from his operation at this time would be a clear admission of error and weakness, and he is not going to allow that. He says, continue business as usual. Terry Fitzgerald is target number 1, and we see a footnote, issue 16 to 18, if you care about where Jason Wynn has been. He says, expand the surveillance to include Miss Blake because we don't trust her ass either. Wait for further instructions. These guys are like, what about the report? Jason Wynn's like, have that shit destroyed. He wants to protect his ass from any, wrongdoing. Jason Wynn goes on to say, by the way, you ever talk shit to me again, you ever question my authority, you look at me sideways, you forget to put the toilet seat down, I'm gonna kill your ass. Straight up. We find ourselves back at Terry's workplace. There's some gentlemen making their way to his office. His secretary is trying to stop them. She is unsuccessful. They burst their way into Terry's office. They put their stupid finger right in his face. He's like, hey, Julia, you can have the rest of the day off. I got this. And they're just like, you think you're pretty slick. These G-men, these are FBI goons here now per orders from Jason Wynn. They're basically just trying to find anything they possibly can on Terry. As we know, Terry is pretty much clean with regard to why they're investigating him in the first place. But Jason Wynn, his displeasure is felt in agency after agency, setting in wheels of motion where Terry is basically being harassed by like the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, maybe the Teachers Association, all the unions and like government workers are just up Terry's ass. So they're there to, harass him again, give him the business. And they're like, whatever, pick up your phone. We see that Wanda's calling Terry. She's looking pretty like, I don't know, teenage here. She's like twiddling around on the phone wire. She's just kind of like childishly in love with Terry in this moment. She's like, hey babe, you coming home? I got a babysitter. I'm looking forward to our evening together. I can't wait to see you. I love you so much. Are you busy? Terry's like, I just had a meeting, nothing really special. And these guys kind of take off. Next we see Sam and Twitch finally back out on the street, engaged in some really good action here. Sam, he's taking a good whack at someone, trying to see if he can help them, refresh their memory. Twitch is like, maybe take it easy. Sam's like, hold on, I gotta light this cigarette. This guy is kind of beat down. He says he's gonna like sue him. Sam's like, yeah, we'll see about that. Sam kind of threatens him with, maybe some crack cocaine that may be in the back of this person's car, some illegal firearms. I don't know if this is true, but Sam's, he's pretty pleased with himself in this moment. He says, Twitch, what do you think about this? Twitch says, I'm gonna start finding a new job tomorrow. On our next page, we learn that Sam and Twitch are basically back out on the street trying to hunt down Spawn to get the answers that they are after. particularly in regard to Billy Kincaid's murder. We see that this particular person here on the floor of the alleyway, this is the person that they're targeting for information. He is not giving up information willingly. Apparently Sam has a lot of dirt on this guy. He says that he pushes drugs, onto kids. That ain't cool. Basically Sam says, if you don't stop, I'm gonna beat your ass so bad you're gonna need a wheelchair. This guy continues to say he doesn't know about a Cape dude in red. Sam says, all right, I'm gonna give you 2 days. If you give me my info, I'm gonna confiscate your crack. If you don't, I'm gonna basically put you away so long that, you need to be worrying about dropping the soap and whatnot. Sam's like, did I make myself clear? He stomps on this dude's poor hand, and then it says that this guy is actually displaying now a remarkable initiative as he continues to dig for these answers that Sam and Twitch are looking for. Elsewhere in the city, Spawn is back to huddling quietly in, discarded waste and refuse, basically in the dumpster. We'd seen more recently that he can manifest objects now through his instruction with Houdini. But he's really not choosing to do that right now. Maybe, again, he doesn't have the power to spend, but I would at least manifest like a lazy boy here. But that's neither here nor there. They have a new problem, apparently. This bum, Jody, he's running down. He's like, ow, ow, yo, get up. We got problems. I need your help. There's like a Nazi skinhead out here. He's looking for you. He says he's here, on orders of the mafia. And he's just out cracking skulls looking for answers. He called you a pussy. Spawn's just kind of pissed because he's thinking, I really just wanted to hang out with my wife and get that all figured out, but I have been unable to do that this entire time. So he's off again to face another threat. He's basically like become a family man in a sense in the alleyways where he's a protector and authority of sorts. So he says that it's time to emphasize this point loudly and with feeling. So he comes down here where this guy is causing some trouble, and we see him down here on the ground. He says like, basically, I want to meet Spawn. What kind of savior lives in the streets, and he must be some sort of like wretched psycho. Spawn's like, you rang, and he grabs this dude's arm in a really nasty fashion. His long ass like fingernails just dig into his flesh. They hit the bone and they lock on. Spawn's like, I was told you're a Nazi, so you're a piece of shit, so I'm not really gonna start off like soft or anything. He's like, hey, I'm gonna ask you one time, who sent you and where can I find this person? He says, you don't know who you're messing with. When the mob gets mad, people start to get beat up, they get hurt, and that doesn't matter. It could be you even. Spawn throws this guy into some garbage. This guy reiterates, you don't want to mess with these dudes. They will hurt you, your family, friends, pets, like whatever. Basically get out of town and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble. Spawn says nothing. He just kind of stares this dude down for like 20 whole seconds, which is probably really terrifying. And this dude's just like, yo, are you listening to me? That they're going to kill you. You're dead meat. Spawn kind of reaches towards his face here. He's like, you're goddamn right, I'm dead. Look at this face. And he peels his mask away and showing his like zombified, post-baked potato, now shoelaced face. He has like maybe some pus and boils even, just looking really sort of horrific and gruesome here. He says, take a good fucking look, take a picture. We've talked about this before. And this dude's like, Jesus Christ, man, maybe you are kind of prepared to take these people on. So then Spawn's like, you tell Mr. Gravano, Vito Gravano, and he's like, oh my god, that fat piece of shit. Like, how many of his little boys here do I need to give an ass whooping and send running back to him? We see a footnote here again. This mostly transpired in issues number 6 and 7. So Spawn says, you tell that fat ass piece of shit, Mr. Gravano, that if he thinks he can do any worse to me than the way I look right now, take your picture, take it back and show him. I'm going to be waiting around. Tell him, don't take forever, but like, I'm here, you know where to find me. And this dude's like, man, you are effing crazy, bro. Spawn says, it helps, and he just kind of whacks this dude for good measure. We see back in the morning around 5 a.m., Vito Gravano's fat ass sitting here in his office. Vito Gravano, aka Vito Graves now, aka Don Dracula. Again, this dude has several aliases. We see his thug here, pretty beat up. He's like, yeah, I tried to deliver the message, but he didn't really care. He says, take your fat ass down there if you want to see him. This guy's like, I did my job, and Gravano's like, you're fired, get the hell out of here. As we continue with a ton of dialogue in Gravano's office here, we see that one of his associates is bringing him up to speed regarding the murders of the mob associates, the mob bosses. Basically, they've looked into this matter regarding the fat little clown, the violator. They've looked into the situation where Overkill got blown to shit. They've also looked into the fact that, Spawn rolled up in Gravano's office, all cool and sleek with his big-ass Call of Duty gear, pointing guns at Gravano's face with a really cool smoke illustration, and a shot with a building blown out like The Matrix. They're like, yeah, we looked into all of this. We also think, I want to pad your ego. You calling in the Admonisher to deal with a violator was an absolutely brilliant move. And here, a brief aside, we see a footnote that references the Violator #1 miniseries. So we will dive into the Violator miniseries here very soon. This guy continues on. He says, regarding Overt Kill, we have some new leads. Basically, we had some mock-ups made of the weapons used there. We learned that these weapons came from like a military base, and these weapons were entirely capable of whooping Overt Kill's ass. So like whoever went to get these, like they knew what they were doing, and they knew where these weapons were located. And then they also think now that the person responsible is Terry Fitzgerald. So we see sort of a continuation of everybody thinking that Terry is involved in something that he is not, something that is actually Spawn's doing. And so now we see not only that the government is after Terry, but now specifically a greasy bastard, Don Vito Gravano, Dracula. He is now after Terry as well. Gravano thinks that if there's any way that Terry actually has a connection to the mysterious, like, red-caped hero, that things are really going to hit the fan. And then he says basically even if they're not connected, he's still pretty pissed off. He calls his buddy here Smithers, which I don't know if that's for real or not, but apparently his name is Smithers. Basically, Gravano is just like, you're not going to F with me, If you come to my office and shoot it up, that's basically suicide, although nothing happened. Like, he's basically just talking a big talk here because Spawn rolled up into his office, basically treated him like a bitch and walked away, and Gravano hasn't done shit since then. And now he thinks that, like, getting the Admonisher on the Violator and looking at Terry is going to solve his problems. He says he doesn't know what's going on. He makes a mention of a severed head, maybe. We see a footnote about Youngblood Strike File number 4. We may or may not get into that, I don't know. He says basically stay clear of me or like a couple people might die, It's really not that threatening. Newscast! Lady says Jason Wynn disappeared. We don't know a lot about his disappearance. A lot of people are looking into it. We don't know shit. It could be aliens or it could be Youngbloods. Basically, he was found back in his office, and that's that. Pencil Neck says basically a lot about his medical report. A lot of people looking at his brain and his central nervous system. They did not find any evidence of injury. They don't really know how to explain his amnesia, and the government agencies, of course, are giving no comment. But Jason Wynn will continue to be monitored for any signs of future abnormalities. And then Beard at the bottom, he's like, all right, let's go over this. CIA director gets disappeared. We don't know how or why. He shows back up with no memory, and we're like treating it as business as usual. Basically, he thinks he could be compromised. If he were kidnapped, maybe we should look into this a bit more, but he doesn't think that it's getting the attention it deserves. On our last page, Beard continues on that, all these G-men are just interested in their own agendas, and that is not public service. That basically all of these factions have their own interdepartmental wars that they're fighting, and the little people are just unfortunately continuing to get in the way. Beard hopes that there's just somebody out there who has the guts to stand up and fight back. We see a few shots of dickhead Jason Wynn, greasy bastard Don Vito Gravano, and Overt Kill here, who has been largely absent due to being repaired from getting the shit kicked out of him by Spawn. We see at the bottom here in our next issue, we will get the privilege to see everybody plus Overt Kill. This has been sponsored content with another episode of Spawn Storytime. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you again.
Boom Jack 11.